That's one of my favorite songs, Amy Grant. Yeah. It's a joy to be here today. We've been gone for the last 2 weeks traveling, and came back from Tallahassee yesterday just to be here with Gary.
Revelation 21:8 says there'll be no liars there. Are you responding to the invitation right now?
I'm getting ready to. It's a real joy and it's a real peace here that we're safe in here. You know, we're the brothers and sisters that love us. And that's just a really comforting feeling. So let's give a prayer for Gary. Father God, we do thank you for today. We thank you for the blessings of life that you give us, that you protect us, that you walk with us, and you love us. And now we ask for your hand to be on Gary, that he will bring your words that you have given him to strengthen our lives, to guide our thoughts and our hearts, and to help us each day love you more. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Luke. Morning, church. I am happy to be here with you today, as always. Y'all see me okay? Okay. We have there's been a discussion this week on where for me to stand, and people can't see me as well down because I like to walk the aisles, and you know if I get up here I'm even further away from you, and I struggle with that. So I'm looking at myself on the camera there. Y'all ought to be able to see me okay. Are you getting a glare off my head? Is that what it is? We're working this with David Bailey and all, and anyway. So if somebody wants to donate for a spotlight and just keep it on me as I walk around, that'd probably cure it. But happy Labor Day, church. So if you know, if you've been here the last several weeks, we have been in Galatians chapter 5 talking about fruit of the Spirit. And we've been taking one every week and discussing that. Well, we've done that consistently. And this week I decided not to do a fruit of the Spirit. We're on the last one. It's self-control. Self-control. I know all of you were waiting to hear about self-control, right? Well, you're going to have to control yourselves because it's going to be another week or two before we get to that one. Because today we're not going to be talking about self-control. That doesn't mean that you should be out of control for the next week or two, but it means we're not going to be talking about self-control as far as one of the fruits of the Spirit. But we're going to look today a little bit at Labor Day. Some of you might have been raised in a church where your preacher never acknowledged any holiday, such as Memorial Day or Labor Day or say Mother's Day or Father's Day or anything. And I kind of like doing that. I kind of like at least making mention of it. And today being Labor Day, I thought we would talk a little bit about labor today. Just a little bit. If you're familiar with Labor Day, it was created by the labor movement in the late 19th century. It became a federal holiday in 1894. Labor Day weekend kind of symbolizes the end of summer for many Americans. You know, we kind of look at Memorial Day to Labor Day for summertime. And it's celebrated with parties and parades and athletic events and all kinds of such things around Labor Day. It's the end of summer, right? All you vacationers are down here like, yeah, we're going to get in one last hoorah before we got to go back to work, right? So you're down here unless you're retired, and then, you know, every day is a labor-free day, I guess, if you're retired. But it's kind of a strange holiday and kind of difficult for a preacher to know what to preach on Labor Day if one wants to preach according to the holidays. You know, some people go by a liturgical calendar. I don't. I go by a holiday calendar. And when I think about Labor Day Sunday, you know, your relatives don't necessarily come to visit. Some do. I mean, there are some folks down here that are down here because it's Labor Day. You know, they're down here because it's Florida, okay? if you were in North Dakota, you wouldn't have any relatives with you this weekend. We don't do a lot of turkeys to eat, and we don't give gifts and no presents to unwrap. It's a different kind of day. But we do have a tradition at my house. We have a tradition at my house. You know what that is? That's boiled peanuts, man. Now, if you don't like boiled peanuts, there's probably something wrong with you. But they're a tasty treat from about Mississippi, Alabama, northern part of Florida, Georgia, north South Carolina, and the Philippines, actually. If you ever go to the Philippines, they love boiled peanuts. But that's what I did yesterday, because that's my tradition. So Labor Day weekend is a boiled peanut tradition at my house. That's the only tradition we have for Labor Day, and we did 6 pounds of them. Or I did yesterday, and we are enjoying them at my house. Now, you Tennessee folks, y'all don't much care for boiled peanuts, do you? Okay. Bless your hearts. So, here's the thing. While we call it Labor Day, in this Labor Day weekend, we typically try to do as little labor as possible, right? Labor Day, but we're not laboring. In fact, none of you laboring. The only one working is me. Right? That don't count. I'm laboring today. Labor Day. And we do fun things on Labor Day, and we get together, and it is a time of, for many people, it is a time for family and get-togethers and all like that. But, we don't necessarily do much anything else. The greeting card companies really haven't figured out a card to come up with on Labor Day. Nobody gave me a Labor Day card today. No one has wished me a happy Labor Day. A Labor Day is just kind of one of those holidays that's kind of forgotten, isn't it? Y'all feeling sad now, aren't you? Like, we ought to do something for Labor Day. Like celebrate it or something. Preachers making us feel bad. Didn't even wish me happy Labor Day. But it is a boom to resorts and tourist areas and weekend and a lot of churches, down here. Now, a lot of you guys from your churches, y'all are down here visiting. Y'all come to church today, and we actually reap the benefits of holidays because you come down here and you come to church. Whereas, other places we've been, when there's holidays like this, people leave. So a lot of times churches, they don't much care for it because, well, most of our folks are gone. They're down in Florida having a good time on Labor Day. You're wondering, what in the world does this have to do with our lesson today, aren't you? I'm going to get to that. I guess sometimes even it just seems like every now and then we need an extra holiday, and this is one kind of as I said before, kind of is the end of summer and the beginning of fall. It sure does seem to me, though, that after Labor Day, years ago when I was in school, after Labor Day is when school started back, or maybe just a few days prior to Labor Day. But nowadays, schools are starting back, it seems like a lot sooner than what they used to, because that's kind of the way we used to mark it in Central Alabama growing up. But anyway, as a preacher, I could just ignore it. Oftentimes our work, our labor already occupies so much of our thinking, and it dominates so many of our conversations. I mean, why talk about something where we're already engrossed in our labor all day long and all week long? Our work, our labor. Our work often dictates where we live. When I was in the Air Force, the work dictated that. They told me where we were going to move and how long we're going to be there and all. Our work often influences our relationships as well with other folks. And indeed, the work that we do in our lives is very important. I want us to look at a couple of scriptures this morning that deal with work, because the Bible does talk about work. It talks about labor and all. In Colossians 3:23-24, whatever you do, Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for men, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. It is the Lord you're serving. Whatever your work is. Whatever your work is. I think one of the great mistakes of our society is dividing the world up into categories. Here we have our economic world and a set of values that rule, and it governs the economic world with all of these rules and all. And then we have this world of religion and another set of values that kind of governs that world. And you know, we come to church on Sundays and we're influenced by values and commands of God. And we go to work on Monday and we're influenced by values and rules of others. You know, we're trying to live under two distinct authorities that are often in conflict with one another. The work rules and values versus the values of your religious life, of being a Christian. It seems to me that the Apostle Paul is saying that these worlds do not have to be in conflict. And they don't. Because the work that we do should not be done just for men, but rather to be done as if for God. Our worlds shouldn't be separate. We are Christians first. That influences our work as working for the Lord. So as we look at these passages this morning, I think we're going to see three different facts here about the work that we do. The first one is the very nature of work. You know, we ask, what is the nature of work? The world tells us that work is a struggle. We got to climb that ladder of success to gain as much of the world's status and power as we can. You know, different times my children have talked to me as they were growing up about work and their future. As I'm sure a lot of us have had children talk to us about, you know, doing work. What do you want to do for a living, right? Oftentimes we ask people that too. We say, well, what do you do for a living? Like nothing. Nothing. You see, I really didn't have to do anything for a living. I married Rhonda. I became a millionaire. Before I married her, I was a multimillionaire. Now, I'm just playing. I'm waking y'all up. But our work influences so much about our lives. Where we are, what we do, the whole nature of it. And so when our children are talking to us about this, you know, I'm trying to take things that I have learned in my life to help them decide what they would like to do with their lives. What are their gifts? What are their strengths? God gives us different strengths and gifts. Use those. Use those for God's glory. Paul tells us to consider our work as a service to God. Regardless of what we do, we're to serve God in the work that we perform. No matter what it's doing. No matter what your work is. If we look at work that way, it'll dispel the idea of judging people by the type of work that they do. The world says that the person who works with his hands is not nearly as important as the person who works with his mind. That's what we hear sometimes. That's not so. It gives greater rewards oftentimes to executives and supervisors, the people who think things through and tell others what to do, and produces sometimes a professional snobbishness. They're kind of uppity is what I'm trying to say. And that can happen. But you know, that can also go the other way. A preacher friend I know served a church made up primarily of farmers. Farmers. Man, they come to church on Sundays. They got calluses on their hands. They got grease under the fingernails. And if anybody different came in, say somebody who didn't have calluses and grease, they'd look at them like, well, what are they doing here? That can go both ways. We lived in Wyoming A lot of times it was kind of interesting there. You go to different churches, and where we attended there at the Cheyenne Church of Christ, there was a big old rack when you walked in. Big old rack. And it's like, what was that rack for? That's all the cowboy hats. Yeah. And they had these boot cleaners outside too, where you could clean your boots off before you came in. It was a sight. We don't have that here. I guess we don't have a need for it here. But out there, just different parts, because a lot of those folks were ranchers, hardworking people. I talked about this becoming Labor Day. One of the reasons Labor Day came about was because companies were forcing their people to work 7 days a week, 12-hour days. Child labor and all like that too. You might think, wow, good thing we don't have that nowadays. I tell you what, you ask any farmer or rancher, they'll tell you how much you're going to be working and about how the kids are working the farm and the ranch as well. So in today's society, if you can throw a football or hit a baseball or an actor, musician, you're worth more than anybody else. Because you're important, because you can throw a football or baseball. Don't get me wrong, I love sports. But I oftentimes think we are a little upside down on the way people are paid. Several years ago, I came across, and some of you might have heard this before, it was an imaginary letter addressed to Jesus, son of Joseph, carpenter's shop, Nazareth. It was from the Jordan Management Consultants in Jerusalem. Supposedly, Jesus had sent the Jordan Management Consultants resumes of the 12 apostles to evaluate. This management consultant firm had given them a battery of tests and now is writing back to Jesus. Writing to Jesus to tell him their conclusions. Looking at this imaginary letter, let me read some of their findings after testing the 12 men that Jesus had selected. It said, in the opinion of our staff, most of your candidates are lacking in background, education, and vocational aptitude for the type of enterprise you are undertaking. Simon Peter is emotionally unstable and given to fits of temper. Andrew has absolutely no qualities of leadership. The two brothers, James and John, sons of Zebedee, seem to place personal interest above team loyalty. Thomas demonstrates a questioning attitude that would tend to undermine morale. In addition, we feel it's our duty to tell you that Matthew has been blacklisted by the Greater Jerusalem Better Business Bureau, and that James, the son of Alphaeus, Simon the Zealot, and Thaddeus definitely have radical leanings. In light of our findings, we recommend that you continue searching for other candidates with managerial experience and proven capability. One of the candidates, however, shows great potential. He's a man of ability and resourcefulness. He meets people well. He has a keen business mind. He has contacts in high places. He's greatly motivated, ambitious, and responsible. We recommend Judas Iscariot as your chief financial officer and administrative assistant. I'm afraid that is just the way the world thinks because, as we look at people, we oftentimes don't look at the things that Jesus looks at. We totally miss the mark. Jesus could see potential and capability that we often miss. So what is the nature of work? Well, Paul says we're to consider our work as a service to God. No matter what we do, listen to that, no matter what we do, no matter what, a service to God. Mowing lawns, preaching sermons, working in the field, working in an office, whatever we do it to the glory of God. Secondly, we ask this question, what's the purpose then of work? And our answer depends on how we answer the first question. If you answer the first question by saying, well, the nature of work is a struggle to climb the ladder of success, then your answer to the second question will be the purpose of work is to make money and accumulate things of this world. Got to make money. But if you answer the first question by saying, well, the purpose of work is to serve God, then the answer to the second question, well, that's going to be different as well. Paul gives us an answer to that question in Ephesians 4:28. He says, let him who steals steal no longer, but rather let him labor, performing with his own hands what is good, in order that he may have something to share with him who has need. So you see here what Paul is saying. Basically, he's saying the purpose behind work is not to accumulate possessions. The purpose is to meet needs. Person might think, well, Paul's out of touch with reality because he doesn't realize that we need to make a profit. If we don't make a profit, we have to lay off employees. If we lay off employees, they don't have a paycheck. It's important for us to make a profit. And Paul here Paul's not saying, he's not saying don't make a profit. He's not saying that at all. The Bible never discourages making a profit. In fact, the Bible teaches that it is wise to make more money than you spend. The Bible discourages hoarding. It discourages greed. The Bible discourages a covetous person. The Bible discourages the worship of things. Paul is saying the purpose in our working is that we may have money to support ourselves. Listen to this. We may have money to support ourselves, support our families, and to give to those who have need. That's why we work. I believe that has a very special application for people of God. We're told to give special attention to one another, and when there's a need among us, we need to be a concern of the other family. You know, purpose of going to work is in order to have the ability to meet people's needs. And then lastly, what is the result of our work? Well, work is important. You know, from the moment that God made Adam and Eve, He gave them work to do. But work in and of itself doesn't fully satisfy. We think it can because our identity oftentimes is governed by what we do. You ever notice that? Who are you? Oh, well, I'm a lawyer. No, who are you? I'm a doctor. No, who are you? Well, I'm this or I'm that. No, who are you? You're a human being created in the image of God. That's who you are. What you do is the other thing. So you're a farmer or a teacher, whatever it might be. Who are you? Human being created in the image of God. We are what our work is. And if we do something worthwhile, we feel we're worth something. But deep down, don't confuse who you are with what you do. Sometimes I have seen this before where people have a misplaced identity. Meaning they focus on, once again, what they do or whatever. But I've seen that also carry over. And I can use the military as an example, having been in it for so many years. And oftentimes I have heard a wife say, well, I am Karen. My husband is Colonel so-and-so or Chief so-and-so or whatever. Their identity of who they are is wrapped around what he does. Our labor is important. Our labor is important, and what we do is important. But the most important thing is who we're doing it for and why we're doing it. And we're doing it to meet other people's needs. We are Christians that go to work every day. We don't divide our lives, our Christian life and our work life. You're a Christian first, And everything that you do needs to flow out of that Christianity. Everything. You know, there are more important things than the work that we do. Way, way more important things. More important than anything else. More important, the most important thing is our relationship with Jesus Christ. The most important thing. Not your work. Not your work. Don't be fooled. Young people, listen to me. Don't be fooled by your work being the most important thing in your life. Because when you get older and you retire, you know, I have heard people say before, you know, I wish I wouldn't have done so much, spent so much time at the office or done this or done that. I wish I'd have spent more time with my family. I wish I'd have spent more time with Christ. Nothing's more important than our relationship with Jesus Christ. If we gain the whole world and lose our own soul, what have we gained? Church, I'm going to close with this. We're encouraged to work. We are encouraged to labor. We're encouraged to do good things. We're encouraged to take care of others. Let me tell you, today, if you're here, you know, life might not be going well for you. You might be struggling in some ways. You might be hurting in ways that we don't know. You've heard it said before, people don't fake being depressed. They fake being happy. Church, sometimes life is messed up. Sometimes life hurts, and sometimes those hurts are so deep that we can't even talk to anyone hardly about it. Life can be that difficult. We're going to sing a song of invitation as we always do, but I also want you to know, I mean, if you want to make a public announcement or public confession or whatever it is, you know, that's okay. But, you know, if you want to talk later, if there's something you need to get off your heart, off your mind, if there's something you just need to discuss, you know, I'm here. If you want to talk, I'm ready to listen. There are others here the same way. We're a church family. Guest, if you're here, we're still your family, okay? We're still your family. If you need something while you're down here, you have our phone numbers on the back of your bulletin.